This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's community access radio station Plains FM 96.9 and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Tēnā koutou, nau mai, haere mai. Greetings and welcome to Emergence News coming to you from the garden city of Ōtautahi, Christchurch. We are based on the beautiful greenstone isle of Te Waiponamu, in which in Kiwi speak is simply the South Island of Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Such a creative name. Couldn't we do better than that? Come on. You know what the one north is called? The North Island.
Yes. As we are in the Southern Hemisphere, we are now officially in our spring season, a very welcome arrival after what seems a long winter of discontent. So far, 2020 is the year that just keeps giving. It feels like it will go down in the history books as the year when change became unavoidable, the year when we could no longer keep the status quo going. There are many prophets of doom and gloom in the aftermath of the many shocks we've had to endure these last 9 months. But in Emergence News, we look at the hopeful and inspiring news that is emerging all around the planet and share it with you, our listeners. So who are we? We are volunteers who give our time and attention in spreading the news that the awaited time for humanity is upon us. This is a time of upheaval, a breaking down of the old way to make way for the new. Stimulating the energy for these changing times is Maitreya the World Teacher, who joined us on this planet in 1977. He embodies the Christ energy of love, which is impersonal in its effect. If you love your human family and hunger for equality, justice and peace, then that force is being strengthened and nourished in you. If you're hanging on to the status quo and want things to stay the same because they're working for you, then that too will be getting stronger and more forceful in your lives. We are witnessing a great polarization taking place. It is a necessary step as change, unfortunately, will not come unless we are made uncomfortable enough to demand and act for what we believe in and desire to make manifest in our lives. Working with Maitreya is a group of elder brothers known as the Lords of Compassion or the Masters of Wisdom. They are stimulating ideas and guiding us in our actions in every field of human endeavour. All of us who work for the benefit of our human family are known as the group of New World Servers. Many in this worldwide group are young people incarnating specifically to bring their knowledge and ideas. They are demanding and often driving the changes our adult leaders are too embroiled in or too timid to embrace. We want to dedicate this programme to some of the new views and to these young activists around the world. So with me in the studio today are Peter and John. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Sophia.
Hello, Sophia.
Hi.
I could go on about the naming of New Zealand for an hour.
Yes, well, it is
we
Māori
call the East Cape?
language.
The East Cape. Do you know what we call the West Coast? The West Coast. I could go on, honestly.
That's why I left the Māori names. They're so much more beautiful and poetic. So what have you got for us today?
Okay, yes, I do have another topic apart from maps. I've been inspired by Maitreya's talk about young people. Mm-hmm. So I've been having a look around on the Share International website and I've come up with some great snapshots of what the young people are doing. Great,
look forward to that. And Peter?
Yes, I've been looking at the latest Share International as well, and an article that's in the July-August issue is called 5 Proposals to Craft a Radically More Sustainable and Equal World. It's sort of planning for post-corona. So I've had a look at that and we're going to discuss some of the ideas in there.
Lovely.
And that's also by young people.
Yes.
Younger than Peter.
Well, yes. And it wouldn't take much.
Okay, John, let's go over to you.
Thank you. Finally, I just can't wait sometimes. Anyway, the young will lead the way. Now, a number of the ongoing themes that Maitreya has been talking about ever since he started working with Benjamin Creme. There's 3 points that for me resonate, and he's always said, you are here now, incarnating for this time and these changes. Mm-hmm. He's also said people power, the voice of the people, is the new power as we go forward, as we go through this transition. He breaks it even further, and he puts it into the voice of the young. And thirdly, he says that souls are incarnating now which have the gifts and abilities to deal with the issues now. Mm-hmm. So I've put young in brackets there. And finally, and the thing that helps me get to sleep at night, is he has said, all will be well. All manner of things will be well. And I guess if you look out your window too often, it would appear that that's not the case.
Yes, definitely.
But anyway, the young will lead the way. And this is a compilation. And the very good people at Share International website put this together for me. Well, not for me specifically, but it was there and I found it. And it's information, quotes, snapshots from messages from Maitreya the Christ, Maitreya's teachings, the laws of life, and Benjamin Creme's master. So it's a little bit of a mishmash of ideas around the young and their role. And Maitreya from the laws of life starts with, everyone is being affected by the new energy pouring into the world. Those who believe in political or religious and philosophical systems have become disillusioned because they have failed to bring peace, prosperity and happiness. You can only solve the problems of the world with a sense of realism that is not clouded by ideology or market forces. No one can resist this new energy. It is taking nations and individuals by surprise. Now, that doesn't mention young people at all, but I just picked up on it because that's how I'm feeling,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Everyone is being affected by the new energy pouring into the world. But anyway, let's get to the young people. The world is divided, therefore, and I love this quote, the world is divided, therefore, into two groups. The conservative, reactionary groups holding on, fighting a last-ditch stand against change, and the newer, younger, progressive groups responding more to the quality and energy of Aquarius. That confrontation can be seen in political, economic, religious and social spheres in every country of the world. And that's from Benjamin Creme, The Great Approach. He goes on to say, the young will rebel against the ideologies of the old, whether they are imposed on them by politicians, religious leaders or intellectuals, and their demands will have impact. The surge of young voices is already being heard in the USA, Africa and the Middle East. Young people want to see constitutions that are by the people and for the people. They are tired of the old nepotisms of family, party and ideology. And that's that fabulous word, oligarchy. Benjamin Creme goes on to say the present politicians, with some exceptions, are of the past. Upholding the status quo, standing in the wings is a group of younger men and women who have been trained by the masters since 1975. They will be elected through the democratic process to positions of power and influence to implement the new structures, the change in direction which the masters will advise. Through them, the masters can work without infringing human will because they are men and women in the world. By their obvious altruism, common sense and grasp of the problems, they will be elected to positions in many countries, perhaps most countries, which until now have been held in the main by the diehards of the past. Now, this I found really interesting because when we look around the world, particularly through the lens of COVID, the countries that have done better against this virus are led by young women.
Yes.
Or younger women.
Yes. Yeah.
And when we look at the Scandinavian countries, we look here in New Zealand at our Prime Minister, there is younger voices coming onto the world political stage. Macron in France, Canadian
Alexander,
Prime Minister.
yeah.
So I was really struck by that. He also says the young are demanding that they play their part and that their voice be heard. Before everything was decided by the elders, that all is changing. It will be the end of the road for politicians unless they willingly get into the step with the new age. And he goes on to say, and this is the quote that really got me started, every generation brings into incarnation those equipped with the answers to the problems that they will meet. It is not possible above a certain age to deal with the new situation. The new generation cannot expect their fathers or grandfathers to deal with their problems. The fathers and grandfathers can learn from the young how to solve the problems, and I think that is actually taking place. Many middle-aged and older people may regret much of the activity of the young, but recognise also that they have a freedom, a self-confidence, and an awareness of the possibilities in life, which they themselves only too often did not have or recognise. Now that's Benjamin Creme, The Art of Cooperation, and he wrote that book a number of years ago. So he was really in tune then. He goes on to say, it is the younger generation which is experiencing the effects of this new energy and gives them strength to change the old systems which have imprisoned people. Benjamin Creme also adds, in my opinion, it is precisely young people today who have the new spiritual vision, who see the world as one, who believe in love and brotherhood and sharing, who are ready to share. It is the young who will inherit this coming time. They have come into incarnation specifically. We come into incarnation and group formation, specially equipped to deal with the situations. That is what's happening now. The young are equipped mentally and spiritually to deal with the problems which beset us today. Each age brings into incarnation those groups of souls whose energy can find a consonance with the prevailing energies of the age. In this way, the necessary forms through which specific intentions of an era can be expressed are certain of formation. More and more adolescents and young adults can be found to be singularly well equipped to respond to the incoming energies. So Benjamin Creme and Maitreya have a really positive outlook on what's going on. So if you look across the world, you do see this upheaval. You do see young people in the streets protesting. I mentioned earlier when we were talking that it's young people that are driving the change for the gun laws in America. They're the ones getting shot at their high schools.
That's right, yeah.
We've talked about Greta Thunberg, who I think was 15 when she started her mission. Very young voices, very well-informed voices. This is not a coincidence.
No.
This is the new age taking form through young people. I'll just finish with, from his centre, Maitreya uplifts and upholds the world. His energies, directed with consummate skill, heal the cleavages, destroy the ancient dogmas, and purify the ways of men. Those who seek to impose their selfish will and hold to the forms of the past will soon relinquish their power. Bereft of support, they will fade into the darkness of yesterday. In their places, a new generation of leaders will arise, men and women of goodwill, filled with the urge to serve mankind. Into their hands will be given the reins of power. By common consent, their altruism and wisdom will fit them for the tasks of reconstruction that lie ahead. So really, young people marching in the streets is good news.
Yes.
Great. That's fantastic.
So I did a little bit of sort of searching on the internet for some of these young activists that are happening around the world. And of course, we've mentioned the, Greta. I think everybody knows Greta, don't they? And I think one of the other ones that is known very well is Malala Yousafzai, because she's the one of the... was an advocate for education and women's rights. Right. And in 2012, she was the target of an assassination plot by the Taliban, who banned many girls from attending school. And she survived a bullet entering her head, going through her neck and ending in her shoulder. She is speaking out and she's addressed the United Nations and has also had meetings with world leaders such as Queen Elizabeth I and President Barack Obama. And she's still very vocal about the education of young women around the world. Another great environmental activist is Yukatsi Martinez. I don't know whether I've got that right, but he's a young man who's been speaking out since he was 6 years old. And he is the youth director of something called Earth Guardians, a non-profit environmental group committed to protecting the air, water, earth and atmosphere. And he said his dad is the Aztec tradition, and I've always grown up knowing that all life is sacred and should be protected.
I'd love to know his reincarnation history.
Yes, that's right. Definitely.
I wonder if he was an Aztec in a previous life.
He's an amazing young speaker. If you see so many interviews of him on the internet.
Yeah.
And he was one of the 21 youth activists that took the US federal government to court for not protecting their constitutional rights to live on a planet fit for purpose. And they lost the case as two of the three judges balked at the scope of change required and the oversight it would require from the courts to implement compliance. They did, however, state that the federal government has long understood the risk of fossil fuel use and increasing carbon dioxide emission. And they also stated that the government's contribution to climate change is not simply a result of inaction. So I think these young people speaking out are really getting the conversation going, aren't they? You know, they're really sort of bringing it.
Yeah, it's that tide turning, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
It's that energy coming through.
That's right. They may not see immediate results,
Right.
but it'll get the talk moving along.
Yeah.
So one girl I'd never heard of, and she really impressed me, was a little girl, 12-year-old girl called Madison Kimry, and she's a suffragette, and who has been vocal about the part of a North Carolina bill which eliminates voter pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds. So apparently in America, if you pre-register to vote, then you're automatically put on the voting thing. And this is very topical at the moment, isn't it? Because,
absolutely. They're trying to dismantle the post office. They're trying to do all sorts of things to limit voter turnout.
That's right. So when she asked the government to meet with her, she was told that she was a prop for the Liberal lefts. And though her petition garnered over 12,000 signatures, the government called her request ridiculous. In response, Kimry started a movement called NSAID Youth Rock, and her speech at a local rally has garnered national attention. She's an amazing little speaker. I'd look her up. She's really good. Then we have a young man called Jonas Corona, who is the founder and CEO of Love in the Mirror, and he's all of the age of 6. And he has started, he volunteered to feed the homeless beginning at the age of 4 and started the organisation when he was only 6, and he feeds the homeless and gives basic necessities to them.
I mean, honestly, they've got to be divine.
They have, haven't they?
It's divinity touching down on the planet, surely.
It must be, mustn't it? Yeah. And then we've got Lisa Yaroshenko from the Ukraine, and she is one of the youngest campaigners for tolerance and understanding of HIV. And she lost her mother when she was 6 to AIDS. She actually has the HIV virus, and in her country it's not very well tolerated, and they're not given very good treatment. So she's there speaking out, and she said to the BBC, "I just can't keep quiet about it, you know." And then the last one, and there's many of them, but the last one I'll mention is Mohammed Manan Asari, and he was a veteran of mica mining when he was 6 years old. He was put into the mines, and he spent 8 hours a day on that job. And thankfully, he escaped the working life when an NGO asked his parents to send him to be educated. And now at 18, he's an advocate for other young children and their rights to have a childhood free from labour. And, you know, so all over the spectrum of, you know, human rights and things, there's all these young people standing up, seeing the need and actually just getting on with it. And, you know, and
it's quite inspiring.
Yes. And, you know, I mean, in here in New Zealand, we've got this sort of call for voting to be at 16, haven't we?
Lowering the voting age.
Yeah, and so, you know, I don't know whether that's going to happen, but apparently there are 11 countries around the world that actually
do. Looking at that.
Yeah, well, that allow them to vote.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and so will New Zealand join them? What do you think?
Yeah.
So that's been going for quite a while, and it was raised first in 2007 here by Sue Bradford, and fast forward to 2018. And a judge put his hat into the ring, coming out in favour of the age. And now we've got it, make it 16, led by young people aged either side of 16, which is a great way. I mean, a lot of people say that they're not really ready, but I just see the difference of that.
Yeah.
You know.
And my daughter's 15, and she's already talking about things and interested in things that at 15 I would have had no cognizance of.
Yes.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, that's right.
So I am very impressed with young people that I meet.
So you think they should be given the vote?
Absolutely, at 16. Yep.
Yeah. So
well, they can drive a car at 15, right?
Yeah.
So go to a hotel at 18 if they're accompanied by a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they can go to war. At what age is
Well,
military service?
it was
18?
20 when I went in the army, but it had been 18 before that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know that.
But they, you know, they're very much more educated, I think, about
Very
things.
much more.
So,
Very much more aware globally too through technology.
and social media, yeah, definitely.
This is the Emergence News on Plains FM. For more information, go to shareinternational.org.
Okay, Peter, let's hear from you.
Thanks very much. This article from Share International, 5 proposals to craft a radically more sustainable and equal world. As you know probably from our previous shows, Maitreya's message is to share and save the world, that we will all live a more simple life with less work, more leisure time, time to learn that we are spiritual beings and are all part of the one family. This article from Share International came from Degrowth, a Dutch group, and endorsed by the Dutch Footprint Group. The current situation and system of continual growth of GDP has an unsustainable element to it, like using up the world's resources, creating jobs that are unsustainable. The World Health Organization estimates 4.2 million die of air pollution, and this is just through bad processing that we do. You know, this is unbelievable. Maitreya says that the nuclear pollution is even worse. So we've got to sort these things out. But this is seen as as the number one thing that this group has brought through. The instruments that the scientists have don't measure into the etheric, and so they don't know about this nuclear pollution. Number 2, an economic framework focused on redistribution, which is straight out of Maitreya's list of things we need to do. Establish a universal basic income rooted in a universal social policy system. Reduced working hours, job sharing, and a system that recognises the value of care work and essential public services, health and education. So we've got to put a more of an emphasis, don't we, on these things that we really need and not the things that we want. And number 3, the agricultural transformation, biodiversity, moving into more local use of food and other production and that sort of thing, instead of transporting stuff all around the world and that sort of thing, you know.
That's why we're so lucky living in Canterbury.
Yeah.
Because our food growing areas are very close to the city.
That's right, yeah.
And we've got fresh water. Well, we've got water. It's not as fresh as it used to be.
Yes,
We're
it could be
very
fresher.
lucky. It could be fresher. But we're very lucky with that.
We are indeed.
We still import quite a lot, though.
But if we had to go to a much more sustainable model, a
Yes.
simpler model,
Yeah.
Christchurch is a great place to live.
Yes, that's right. So it obviously needs to be implemented worldwide, doesn't it? I mean, it's no good having people on death's door producing stuff for a first world country, and they're starving to death themselves. I mean, you know, we've got to sort this problem out.
And we've got to do it globally,
Ridiculous.
Peter, because if one country gets it right and the surrounding nations don't, then we have this awful immigration problem where people are streaming over the borders to get at what you're doing.
Yes, that's right. We're making one area more popular than another. And, of course, the reduction of the consumption of travel with a shift from excess to sustainability being the norm. And I think we all know that this is what we need to do, and we've proved that this is possible during this COVID time. Maitreya says the future travel will be quick and noiseless with no travel effects, and that's sort of an interesting thing, isn't it? How on earth will that work, you know? Planes that don't use ordinary jet engines or something, you know, who knows. And of course, number 5 was debt cancellation, especially for workers and small businesses, owners, and for countries in the global south. Both the money must obviously come from richer countries and debt forgiveness. And these academics from Holland see this vision will lead to more sustainable, equal and diverse societies based on the international solidarity and better able to deal with shocks and pandemics. You see, we're not living a natural life. We're living an artificial life. Therefore, things attack us. We get diseases and all sorts of things. But
our house is dirty. Our planetary house is dirty, and it's become toxic for us.
That's right. Yes, I think so. Thank you very much.
So I thought I'd end today with some of the quotes that these young people have actually said straight from their mouths. I'm someone who's pretty engaged in politics, and I'm getting kind of tired listening to adults being very condescending, knowing that we actually, in the long run, have no say in the end. Our points of view are being trivialised by politicians and by people older than us just because of our age.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. This world has a serious leadership problem. I am not a prop. I will not stand silent. We are at a tipping point. Will we be remembered as the generation who trashed the earth? We owe it to future generations to be the leaders of today so that they can have a future.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Out of the mouths of babes.
All this information can be found on the Share International website, www.share-international.org. Scorpio Books in Christchurch carries the magazine and some books. And also don't forget the podcasts, which are available on the Plains FM website.
We welcome your comments, questions and feedback. Please contact us at emergencenews@gmail.com.
The opportunity to join our transmission is available Monday and Wednesday evenings and Thursday mornings, which gives us the possibility to do a service meditation in conjunction with Masters.